appreciate everybody coming. Looking forward to getting training camp and the season kicked off here tomorrow. Hope everybody had a great summer and well rested and ready for some football. And as always, appreciate what you guys do and the coverage you guys give us, and looking forward to working with you guys here this season. Just a quick review last night. Most of you guys probably saw on social media. We just had a great event, great moment for our football team when we opened the Brown family locker room last night. It was just awesome to see the energy and enthusiasm from our players when we are able to add another piece to our facilities here. And I can't thank enough the people that worked every single day on this project, all the way back when we started having planning conversations to the design, all the details that go into it. Pat Hobbs for his persistence in trying to push this thing along, all the facility people, the development team, the workers that were there every single day, tearing out the old locker room, building a new one. There's so many people that put in a lot of time and effort and energy into getting that thing done, and they did it first class. And obviously I want to mention a huge thank you to Greg and Anna Brown for their continued support of just Rutgers University overall. The projects that they've done at this university, not only for the athletic department and football, is just amazing, and they continue to try to make this place the best that it can be. And last night was just an awesome moment for our team and for them and everybody that was there. So I want to thank them. I'd also like to just a quick shout out to Dr. Barchi. He announced there recently that this is going to be his last year, and I want to wish him well here in his last academic year. He's been very supportive of our program, athletics, and done some great things here at this university, and we hope he goes out on a positive note here with his last year of service to Rutgers. The 150th, we've talked a lot about it. It's the 150th anniversary of college football, and I mentioned before that we're really excited to be a part of that history, and we're looking forward to the celebrations weekly throughout the season, not only here on our campus but across the nation, to celebrate this great game, and looking forward to some of the special things that we have on game day here this season. A couple roster updates. I know you guys will ask about some of them yourself, but just a couple coming out of last spring. Zamir Mickens has moved on to medical scholarship, will not be on our active roster this year. Zaire Lacewell is no longer with us, transferred to Garden City Community College, I believe. Johnny Langan, I know you guys will ask about him. His NCAA waiver was denied, but it's in an appeal process, and have no timeline, no timetable on when we might get a decision back on that. But it's in the NCAA's hands, and we'll see where it goes from there. A couple newcomer scholarship guys. Ram Buell will not be here. I know you guys will ask about Ron Johnson also. He will hopefully be joining our team at some point here in training camp. He had some academic things that he had to complete, some paperwork that has to be finalized on Michigan's end and our end before he can actually jump into training camp, but hopefully that will all get cleared up relatively soon, and he'll be here. Injuries, you guys know I won't make a lot of comments on injuries unless they're long-term injuries where somebody can no longer compete. I will make mention that we will have a handful of guys that will be limited or miss some practice time early in training camp due to either postseason surgeries that they had post-spring or something that may have happened over the summer. We have a handful of guys that are probably in that category. The good thing is we don't have anybody right now that has a long-term injury that should force them to miss any games or any playing time once we kick off. But 2019 is here. It's amazing how fast the off-season and summer goes. The more you're in this, it just goes by faster and faster. It's a new year, new season, new team, new energy, and really excited about it. One of the things I think is really cool about college football, every year is a new year. Whether your successes or failures last season, or whatever happened, whatever your situation is, it doesn't determine your next season. You lose players, you get new players, you got staff transition, a lot of things. Next guy up mentality when somebody leaves and it's someone else's turn. And I'm really excited about our team, our players, and the work that they've put in and how they responded to last season, and really looking forward to kicking off training camp and watching these guys work here in August before we get started late. Some things that I've talked a lot about with our players, or just our program overall, just some of the things that have changed since December of 2018. Staff changes. We made some staff changes. Very, very difficult to do those things, but I'm very excited about where we landed, and I'm mostly excited to see the players go out and respond to the new coaches, new technique, new energy, new voice, whatever it may be with that particular unit. Roster changes. We lost some guys, but we brought some guys in, both from a transfer standpoint and newcomer standpoint, new freshmen that I'm really excited about. Scheme adjustments. I think it's been talked about widely about having an offensive coordinator come back for the second year. That's very, very important because we have a guy that understands the personnel, the strengths and weaknesses, and can make the necessary adjustments that we need to for the personnel that we have and be able to put our players in position to have success. Off-season, we made some adjustments to our off-season, our spring practices, to allow us to have some more player development, leadership development, and culture development. This off-season, we had Navy SEALs come in. We did a team retreat. We did some other things with guest speakers that I really am fired up about, that I think has helped us move forward, both as individuals and as a team. And then just the physical transformation. We played a lot of young players that probably weren't ready, but that's what the roster was. And when I look at some of those guys right now, some guys have put on 15, 20, 25 pounds from last season. They look much bigger, stronger, and more prepared to go out and compete in a league like this. So those are just some of the major things that I think that we have been able to adjust, adapt, change, whatever you call it, coming out of 2018 as we head into 2019. And all of them are just in an effort to push our team forward. We know where we were at after 18. We know where we need to get to by the end of 2019, and we're trying to do everything we can to push the program forward. Just a few things on the three phases offensively. Again, I know that's a big topic of conversation. We understand that we have to do better. We've got to score points. We've got to be more effective in all areas, in all positions, and we're working hard to get that done. One of the things that we have to do that will probably make the biggest change for our offense, we've got to protect the football. Our turnover takeaway ratio is not where it needs to be, and we've got to protect the football both in the pass game and the run game, and that alone will change the narrative around our offense more than anything else. We looked at everything from A to Z last year after the season, the goods, the bads, the things that we adjusted throughout the season, and making sure that we make the necessary changes. It all starts with the O-line and the quarterback. We've got to be able to block better up front in the run game and protect better, and we've got to play better at quarterback. And everything that we're going to do is driven by those two positions. And we know that we had to make some changes, and we've done that. We practiced some in training or in spring practice. We'll do some more in training camp, and I'm excited about what those changes are. To help those players have success. I know the quarterback is another conversation piece. Coming out of spring, I'd mentioned that Art is number one on the depth chart. That obviously has not changed going into training camp. We have McLean Carter that came in as a grad transfer from Texas Tech, and Cole Schneider, who is here this spring, is an early enrollee. Will be two guys that will be working hard to compete for the quarterback position, but Art is the number one quarterback headed into training camp. I know you'll ask about a timeline. There isn't one. When we feel comfortable with whoever is going to start in the first game, we'll name that person. If it's Art, it's Art. If it's one of the other guys, it's one of the other guys. And there's a lot of things that will go into it, mostly protect the football and being consistent and can be a leader for the offense. But I'm excited about the room overall. And the way that those guys have come together, they push each other, challenge each other, and it's made each guy better this summer. Defensively, hired Andy Boo to be the defensive coordinator, a guy I have history with. We believe in a lot of the same things, coach a lot of the same things, so it was a great fit for me. Not a lot of schematic changes are going to be made on that side of the ball. I'm probably most excited about the depth that we have on defense at all positions. We probably have more depth, and not probably, we have more depth on the defensive side of the ball than we have in the last couple of years, especially last year. Defensive line-wise, we're hopefully by the end of training training camp going to be able to go 3 deep at most positions. It's going to allow us to rotate guys and keep guys more fresh throughout the game and through the course of the season. We have not been able to do that in the past, especially last year, at least when the season started. Linebacker is one of our strongest positions on the football team right now. We've worked really hard to build that unit up and not only build it up, but create depth at all positions. I think we have that necessary depth to, again, be able to rotate, be able to fight through injuries that occur at that position, and just have competitive spirit for opportunities to play. And in the DBs, we lost some good ones, but I think we have a bunch of good ones back. We have some good young players that I think really shined in spring ball, and I'm excited to see them in training camp. Young guys, Trey Avery, not necessarily a young guy, but he was a guy that we were counting on playing a big role for us last year, both on defense and on special teams. Got hurt. He's healthy and back. Jarrett Paul was a freshman last year, played a little special teams. We moved him to safety. Christian Izian coming out of a red shirt. Malik Dixon, we moved back to safety. And Tim Barrett. Those are all young players that we think have a really, really bright future and are excited about moving forward. Specialists and special teams, all of our guys are back. I thought that was probably the strong spot of our team last year. It's good to have Davidowitz back as our number 1 kicker. He'll be challenged by Guy Fava, an incoming freshman we think has a strong leg, but Justin's done a great job over the last couple years. We got Adam Korsak back. I think you guys saw him develop and grow and become a pretty good weapon for us last season, and excited to see that continue to grow. And then Billy Taylor, no one talks about him because he's just Mr. Consistency, and he's back again. So I feel really good about those 3 positions and what they're going to be able to do for our football team. With that, I know you guys have a lot of questions, and I'll go ahead and open it up for whatever you guys have.
Chris, do you think offensively you guys are at the point where you might be able to kind of realize the vision that you talked about when you first got the job, of scoring a lot of points, being exciting?
I'll tell you at the end of training camp, I can't tell you we're at that spot right now. We haven't even started practice. We've got a lot of work to do over the next 4 weeks. I've seen progress being made in a lot of areas, just the scheme changes, player development, incoming players that I'm excited about, but we've got to go practice, we've got to go work, and it's got to all come together. One of the issues that when I talk about just ball security, the other issue, we got to get all 11 people working together on offense to make the picture look better, and that's what we have to invest in an insane amount of time on this August.
Chris, when you look at this 4th year here now, and now this is the point where the majority of the players really are your guys, how much, though, in that time have you changed as a coach from when you came in here without having been a head coach to now you've got significant time under your belt and you've had most of these players here for a long time?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I'll just start with me in my personal development. I think any time, whether you're a first-year head coach, fifth-year head coach, or in your 15th year, you're always doing what? You're always evolving, you're always trying to improve, you're always trying to make yourself better. So, yeah, obviously I think I'm better here going into year 4 than I was in year 1, and, as a coach, period, when I first started back in 1996, I'm a better coach today than I was then. But what I really probably have done, what I think a better job of, is here's the plan, here's the blueprint, but adjusting and adapting based on the situation. What players do we have? What's required of our team? Where are we at? And I think all good coaches do that with your unit, with your offense, defense, your overall team. But sometimes ego gets in the way. Say, hey, this is the only way. But we're always trying to find ways to get better and improve in everything that we do in the program. And that's the way I'm wired, and I think I've tried to do a better job of that.
Chris, at the end of last season, Pat said that he hoped to see significant improvement from the program this year. I'm curious how you yourself define that, and if you had a conversation with him specifically as to what that means.
Yeah, I think anybody that is in our program wants to see significant improvement. What that is, there's not a number. I know a lot of people want to put a number on it. To me, it's about improving. Having your football team go out and having a chance to win as many games as possible. I mean, that's improvement. Is it 12 games, 10 games, 8 games, 6 games? I don't know. All I know is we're going to work really hard to put a really competitive, enthusiastic, tough, disciplined team on the field that gives us an opportunity to win every single game that we play. That's what our focus is. I'm not worried about a number. Never had a conversation with anybody about a number. We're trying to make our football team as good as it can be, and that's our focus. And to do that, we got to focus on our process, and that's day one of training camp.
Coach, getting back to the quarterback competition, you get a guy like McLean Carter coming here for the summer. What's he been able to do? Is it enough time to learn the playbook? And what have you seen from him, just in that short time of what you know of him?
I haven't seen a whole lot. I mean, with the rules the way they are, we can't, be around the guys with balls and things like that. He's participated in the player run practices that they've had in the summer. But until we get a chance to put on the helmet and get the balls out and be with them, I can't give you any kind of evaluation other than what I've seen on film from Texas Tech. He's a great kid. He comes from a football family. He knows the game. He studies the game. He's played the game. Those are the things I can tell you. But until we get him into our system, into our structure, I don't know, what it's going to look like. I love the kid. He's competing to learn as much as he can, as fast as he can. I can tell you that. But time will tell.
Yeah, Chris, you obviously seem very enthusiastic about this team. Can you see in your mind that path to improvement from what you've seen, through spring and the summer here so far?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, there's a lot, just like I mentioned, all the kind of points along the way to get to where we're at today. I'm here every day, and I see our team develop and improve every single day. And I know when you're not, it's hard to see it or believe it or think about what it could become. But every single day I see the players come in with a great attitude, great focus, great commitment to trying to improve not only themselves but their unit and our team. And that's been fun to watch. When you go through a year like last year, you're not sure how teams are going to respond. You're not sure how individuals are going to respond. Not everyone's made for those tough, difficult challenges. But I can say this football team has responded in the right way. What does that mean? I don't know. I'll tell you at the end of the training camp how I feel going into games, and obviously the true measure will be on Saturdays when we play.
Chris, how prepared do you think Isaiah is to take on something more? Obviously, he showed some flashes last year as a freshman, and he did some things. How prepared is he to take on something bigger, something more?
Well, I think he's definitely developed, and I think he's definitely ready to be a contributor right out of the gate. Isaiah wasn't right out of the gate the player he developed into throughout the season. We expect him to be an impact guy right away for us. He's got to work on being a complete running back still, and that's what August is about. I think he improved in some areas in the spring, but he's still got a long way to go to become a complete every down running back for us. But that's the goal, and that's the challenge that Coach Smith and the offense have, is to try to make him become that guy. But he will contribute early and often, and it's going to help improve our offense.
Coach, you said at Big Ten Media Days that this team had some of the best chemistry, best leadership that you'd seen while you'd been here. Can you speak a little bit on what your four captains have brought to the table, each of them specifically?
I think the first thing is they have tremendous respect from everybody in the program. They are tremendous people. They got great character. They do what they say they're going to do. They work extremely hard. They're complete individuals. They're not only good football players, but they're good students, they're good citizens, and with that they've gained a ton of respect from the whole team. And when they speak, everybody listens. And that's helped player-to-player accountability, and it's allowed players to basically drop their ego and follow them, and that's huge because that doesn't happen all the time, and it's easy to say but hard to do. But those four guys, based on the way they carry themselves and handle their business, people listen and people follow, and that's why we did what we did with the captains back in the spring.
Coach, for the freshmen that arrived this summer, I know it's very early, but did any of them stand out to you during some workouts?
Kind of like the McLean Carter conversation. When they come in, the majority of them, they came in at the end of June, and unfortunately, it's kind of like where everyone starts vacation time, and that's where we go into our player run, workouts, and we're not around them much. I see them in the weight room. I like the size. I like the work ethic in the weight room, but to make comments on who's going to help us this fall, it's too early to tell that right now.
Just to follow up on that, if Johnny's waiver does get denied, how much quicker does Cole have to grow up? You know, he'd be 2 snaps away, presumably, from having to play. How much quicker does his maturation have to be?
Yeah, well, it obviously puts him in a situation to prepare to help us, as opposed if he was 4th on the depth chart. I don't know where he'll end up on the depth chart when we get going in August, but worst case scenario, if all the quarterbacks were there and eligible to play, the worst case scenario he'd be 4th. If Johnny's not there, there's one less guy. Worst case scenario he's 3rd, and the 3rd team guy always has to be prepared. Cole really showed a lot of development and promise in spring. He's worked really hard this summer, and I'm excited to watch where he's at this August or tomorrow, I should say, when we get started. He's really serious about trying to be the best he can be, and I think he's more mature than a lot of other kids at his age, and I'm excited to watch him go compete and see what happens.
Chris, a lot of competitive people relish being in a position where they can prove people wrong. I'm
Yeah.
curious if you feel that way, if you like the idea that you can show a lot of people, prove them wrong.
I don't look at trying to prove anybody wrong. I'm here to try to build a team, and that's it. I've learned a long time ago, you're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. And you focus on the process, and my job is to coach our team, coach our players, and that's it. And I'm going to do the job.
Coach, you mentioned the Navy SEAL thing. Can you expand on that a little more and tell us how much it helped your team?
Yeah, it was a really good exercise that we did the first week back in January with the team. Again, as I looked at everything coming out of 2018, there were some things that I felt like we needed to do better outside of just playing football. We needed to communicate better. We needed to compete better. We talked about the leadership. We needed to have better leadership. We needed to get leadership in place that others are going to follow. We needed to execute with greater detail, and that's what they do. Navy SEALs do that to stay alive. And so we brought in a team, APG, came in, and they've worked with several colleges and NFL teams around the country, and they came in and spent 2 days with us and went through a lot of leadership training, team bonding activities, worked on communication activities with the team, helped us build a player-developed ethos and a standard that they wanted to hold themselves to. It wasn't from me, it wasn't from the staff. It was one of the best exercises that I've been a part of in my career with a team. They came back again in the spring, evaluated our team, how's it going, where they thought that we were at. And they'll be back in training camp as well to reevaluate how it's going in the areas that they were really trying to help us with. But they're a great group of guys. They've been doing this at a lot of places, and I think our team got better with the time that they spent with us.
Chris, you had a lot of wide receivers in spring ball. I think you have more now. How do you kind of work with that group? We have a lot of guys who have a lot of new guys, something to prove, and do you think that unit's ready to kind of make that jump that we talked about last season and didn't really happen?
Well, last year we were playing with a bunch of young players. They were all first or second year players, not a lot of experience. They're all back. Does that mean they're naturally going to be better just because they're going to be back? No, but I've seen a lot of development from individuals that did play last year. They're just bigger, they're stronger. Being in the same system has helped them develop. They've had the same coach that's helped them develop some skills. We've brought some new players in that they're going to create competition, where you're either going to improve or they'll pass you by, and that's really what every coach wants at all positions. But I've seen a lot of development out of that group. Again, just like a lot of the other positions, August is going to be a huge month for them to continue to develop. So we get a unit, or not even a full unit, we just get some individuals out there that we think that we can rely on to change the game for us.
Chris, how is Micah Clark doing in his transition to defensive line, and could he have an impact this year, you think?
Right, he made the transition in spring. He got hurt in the middle of spring and missed a good number of practices there in spring. So to sit here and make a prediction that he's going to go play on game day right now, I can't do that. I do think he has the skill set to hopefully push for playing time and make a difference for us at the nose guard position. But there hasn't been a large enough body of work to be able to say absolutely he's going to or no, he's not yet.
Coach, you've talked about leadership and other things to evaluate yourself, But have you talked to maybe some other coaches that you know that have been in this situation for a period of time to maybe to add something to what you want to do for this year?
I talk to other coaches all the time about a number of things. Usually you rely on your circle of people that you've been around and have good relationships with. You talk about, program development, things that you're doing in the program, scheduling, things with the players, player development, practice planning, schemes, all of that stuff. So I talk to people, constantly, both in college and the NFL, even high school coaches that have success, just trying to find a way. I've always done that to make myself better and to make our team better. So yeah, that professional development component for me is something that is important, and I do it quite a bit. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what we try to do.
On the offensive line, what did Zach bring to the table this offseason, and what does he bring going forward ahead for you guys?
Zach Vineski obviously played last year, got his chance to start, took advantage of it, and I think it really built a lot of confidence in Zach. That's what I see as much as anything. He's really grown up, he's really developed, he's more confident right now because of that opportunity and that experience from last year. I just saw a completely different individual. It's not just about trying to survive, it is about trying to be the best he can be and leading others around him. Zach is he's really committed. I mean, you look at his story, and I've said this before, there was a time I didn't even think Zach would play here. But Zach just stayed focused on his process and his development and waiting for his opportunity, and when it came, he took advantage of it. And then he became a captain. He's always been a respected individual in the program just because of the way he works. But it's different when you become a guy that plays as well. And I think that put him in a different spot. He feels it, he sees it, and he owns it, and he's embraced it.
Chris, I got inspired by the tight end position for some reason. But what do you see? What do you want to see from that position as you go into camp?
Well, there's a lot of unknowns at that position, probably more unknowns at that position than any other position on the football team. We have 3 scholarship guys there. We brought in Kyle Peniston as a grad transfer. Matt Alimo is a transfer that's eligible for us, and then Jonathan Lewis we moved over from quarterback to tight end. I really like all 3 of them. Kyle wasn't here, so it's hard to say, again, with that transition to our program, but Kyle has played Big Ten football and played quite a bit. He's got more experience than anyone else, in that position. But Jonathan Lewis has done a great job with this transition. He looks great physically. He's really bought into the position switch. He's trying to work on becoming a complete tight end. He showed some real signs of being a good receiver in the spring. He's working hard on the blocking part of it. And then to have Matt Alimo thrown in there as well. He did a great job this spring. He's bigger and stronger than he's ever been. Going into his second training camp of college, I just talked to him this morning about that. He's more confident and excited to get going.
A lot of times coaches talk about focusing and doing your job. Is there anything that you can do to teach a group to win, to have confidence?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a big part of winning is believing that you can. And throughout the course of the year, you want your off season, your strength and conditioning, your workouts, whatever you're doing, to be competitive. Because first the phases are you got to teach the guys how to compete, and then eventually you got to teach them how to win. The only way you can do that is put them in those situations to compete and figure it out. And everything that we do right now, there's some competitive component to it, whether it's before a meeting, beginning of practice, during practice, end of practice, in the weight room. We're trying to get guys to compete, to learn how to do that, and embrace that, but then also figure out how to win, and then do that consistently. The confidence thing just comes through repeated reps of that over and over and over to build up that confidence. You go out and you have successful experiences, it naturally does what? Builds up your confidence. Not everybody's wired just to stay confident in bad situations or difficult times or in losses. So it does take some time, put them in situations where they can have success and they can think, wow, I can do this and I can get this done, and start to believe in it, and then the confidence grows.
James, on the question. Chris, you said in Chicago, Big Ten's line of scrimmage league. Do you feel better about your offensive and defensive lines maybe now than you have in the past going into training camp? I mean, do you feel that they're Big Ten caliber?
Yeah, I think they're Big Ten caliber players on our O&D line. We got to go play like that. I am probably more excited about some of the schematic changes that we've made that will allow our players to have more success. But in terms of questioning whether our players are good enough, I don't question that at all. I think on both sides of the ball we have enough to be competitive and win games with. But, you know, again, you got to look at everything. You know, if you feel like you have the right players and it's not working, then what's the reason? And I think, you know, we've made some adjustments and changes on both sides of the ball for those positions that I feel really comfortable and confident in the direction that we're going that allow those players to have success.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Take care.